Sam Cedar, where every day's Casual Friday. That means Monday is Casual Monday, Tuesday, Casual Tuesday, Wednesday, Casual Hump Day, Thursday, Casual Thurs, that's what we call it, and Friday, Casual Shabbat. The Majority Report with Sam Cedar.
It is Friday, August 11th, 2023. My name is Emma Vigeland, in for Sam Cedar, and this is the 5-time award-winning Majority Report. We are broadcasting live, I need to do that, steps from the industrially ravaged Gowanus Canal in the heartland of America, downtown Brooklyn, USA. Whew! On the program today, Alex Perrine of The New Republic and the AP newsletter, The Good One, will be with us. And later in the show, Francesca Fiorentini of the Bituation Room will also be with us. Meanwhile, the death toll in Maui rises to 55, making it one of the deadliest U.S. wildfires in the last 100 years. Climate activists and scientists are skeptical, to say the least, about Biden's implementation of direct capture technology to vacuum greenhouse gases from the atmosphere, paying Warren Buffett's company to do so. Meanwhile, Biden sends a stern letter to red states kicking people off Medicaid rolls in the past few months. At least 4 million have been removed. The special counsel proposes a January trial for Trump's election interference case. Trump should appeal that or try to push it. Trump and his aide, Walt Nauta, plead not guilty in the stolen documents case. James Comer says he'll subpoena the Biden crime family over their investigation in search of a crime. Yawn. Manchin once again threatens to leave the Democratic Party. Double yawn. Tommy Tuberville may actually live in Florida, not Alabama, according to records, financial records. Unions push the California legislature to re-implement unemployment benefits for striking workers during the final stretch of their legislative session. The Supreme Court temporarily blocks a sweetheart opioid settlement deal for the Sackler family, which would have shielded them from additional liability. The New York City Corrections Watchdog Agency sues the city over a lack of transparency about Rikers. Arizona Democrats lose a lawsuit trying to block the No Labels Party from getting ballot access. 2 years after our evacuation, tens of thousands of Afghans still waiting for the U.S. visas they were promised. And lastly, one suspect was killed and 6 arrested in the assassination of Ecuador's presidential candidate, Fernando Villavicencio. All with alleged drug trafficking ties. All this and more on today's Majority Report. Welcome to the show, everybody. I have a hair, a loose hair on my lip, and I don't know where it is. It's like, it's bothering me, causing me to cough.
Phantom hair.
What is this? There it is. There it is. I got it. Hello, everybody.
Hello,
Casual
Emma.
Friday. No, I didn't get it. God damn it. I'm going to have to do this in the break. I don't know what's going on. It's like stuck in my lipstick or something like that. Driving me insane. But I did just want to correct myself because yesterday I said this and I was wrong. That the Biden Department of Justice has not sued Greg Abbott over his stuff at the border. They have. I just forgot about it. They sued Abbott last month about the buoy barrier. So that's good. I still think our point about him using the bully pulpit to combat it stands. But regardless, it's just wanted to issue that correction at the start of the show because I was incorrect in my commentary about that.
Yeah, I mean, look, lawyers first is one way to do this. And I assume it's the way, like, probably the most path of least resistance. I do feel like there should be some way for the American federal government to assert its own authority over the borders and say, hey, actually, we're not going to let state governors put up like devices that
Death
like
traps?
the Saw series would be jealous of, like, and kill people with them.
Yeah, right, exactly. Let's touch on this though. Obviously, major devastation in Hawaii right now. After the wildfires in Maui, the one of the deadliest wildfires in the last 100 years. I think it's currently only second to the ones in 2018 in California. And all of these deadly fires heavily concentrated in recent years. And it's obvious that this is a climate change related trend. Hawaii is typically associated with lush forests and fauna, but Hawaii's not even safe from drying caused by climate change. And there was an analysis done by the University of Hawaii of rainfall at a variety of monitoring sites, including in Hawaii. And since 1990, rainfall has been 31% lower in wet season and 6% lower in dry season in Hawaii. And that was work published in 2015, according to the New York Times. And on top of that, Hawaii's the decline in agriculture, the change in land use, according to experts, private property with foreign kinds of grass, landowners using it for their own private interests, has made Hawaii more susceptible to this kind of thing. And the destruction is just horrific. This is Yidris Nora, who is a resident of Maui, who spoke to Sky News about how he had to jump into the ocean on police orders to escape the flames.
We keep hearing explosions. We were hearing screams out of a horror movie.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't know. We were hearing people throwing up. We didn't know where they were. The smoke was just keep getting all black. And then, you know, I called the cops again. They couldn't come. The third time I called them, they said, you have to go in the water. And I said, you want us to jump in the hurricane? It's black, you know. The ocean was pulling us at the same time. We were trying to have debris falling on us. We're trying to get wet and not burn.
How long were you in the water for before you were rescued?
Like 3 hours, maybe, something like that.
About 3.
Yeah.
It sounds miraculous that you were able to survive.
I didn't think. I just prayed and I said, God, please, not today. I didn't know what to say. This is it. You know,
I did the same thing. I was like, when I was on my back in the water going, I was like, not today, God. Not, just not today. Not like this.
I mean, just must have been terrifying to be in the ocean and it's completely black from all the smoke and soot.
Between the water and flames, it's like...
I mean, they were the lucky ones, though, at the same time. Right. As I said in headlines, at least 55 dead at this point, and that number is going to continue to tick up. This is another a clip here. ABC News, they ran this segment on one of their meteorologists who is based in Hawaii, Malika Dudley, and she speaks about her experience seeking refuge from the flames.
Malika Dudley, a meteorologist at our Honolulu station KITV, but also a Maui resident forced to flee with her family in the middle of the night, describing that experience in her own words.
We got a call from our neighbor who said, get out of your house. And we looked out the window and there was a red glow outside of our window. The fire was right above our property. Woke up all the children, piled them into my car. I've got 3 children and I have a child of a friend with me as well, which just kind of heightens that level of anxiety quite immediately, if you will. And we started to drive towards my best friend's house. We knocked on her door, woke them up at 4 a.m. And that's where we've been sheltering ever since. Unfortunately, other areas on the island are still right in the thick of it and still dealing with loss of communication. People can't get in touch with their family members. We don't know how many structures have been taken. And last night was like Armageddon. It was wild driving back along the Central Valley and seeing 2 fires up on the hill and a massive fire building over another part of the island down south in Kihei. That's what you're showing right now. And knowing that on the opposite side of the island in Lahaina, people were literally running for their lives.
Could really sense the emotion in her voice there.
I mean, it is. She mentions the structures there. Lahaina, once the capital of the Kingdom of Hawaii before we colonized Hawaii, has been devastated. In particular, many ancient, like, indigenous structures that have been severely damaged. And indigenous activists have warned about the disrespect of the Hawaiian ecosystem by colonizers for decades before this. Before, during, after Hawaii's colonization, that was always at the heart of the protestations because of the capitalist desires of the United States. And now Maui in particular, it's become a vacation destination for a lot of people, second homes for the wealthy. And as I mentioned earlier, that change in the grass complexion, according to experts, has contributed to this, as well as general climate trends, which, like, as the temperature gets hotter, there's less cloud cover in Hawaii. The clouds are thinned out, and that means higher temperatures, or I should say, the higher temperatures thin out the clouds, which means that there's less rolling clouds with rainfall in Hawaii. And it also shifts patterns in the La Niñas, which bring rainfall seasonally to Hawaii. So it's all inextricably linked.
As far as, like, states that are the most concerned with climate change, I would think, and I'm looking for numbers on this, but I think Hawaii had got to be up there because you're such a small speck in the middle of the ocean in a delicate ecosystem. And yeah, I mean, changes like this where you're seeing stuff burn that hasn't burned in thousands, like, you know, it's horrible.
It's horrible. I mean, what else can you say? But, like, we're going to have to start getting serious. Like, this summer...
Oh, yeah. I mean, I appreciate Rokana calling on who I have beef with regards to Silicon Valley connections and stuff like that. But calling on Biden to do the climate emergency. Like,
he did. Oh, that's good.
Oh, he called on it. Yeah, I thought you said Biden did call.
No. I'm just... He did, question mark? Yeah.
Rose said, like, yeah, like, it's time to do a climate emergency, and it is.
All right, guys. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be speaking to Alex Perrine about the news of the week. Trying to do Matt's job. We are back with Francesca Fiorentini of the Bituation Room. One of my favorites. How you doing, Francesca?
It's good. Yeah, I'm okay. It's Friday. I'm chilling. I think I'm gonna check out the picket lines here in LA. The baby is gonna come with, just sort of as like a sympathy attachment. And I think it'll really get to Zaslav's heart. You know, it'll just melt his heart.
Yeah. Is she cute enough?
Wow. Are you kidding me? Is she cute enough? No. Yeah, of course she's cute enough. I'm still debating, like, you know, late term abortion, like 10 months into it. We'll see.
Well, that's your right.
Yep.
As every leftist would affirm.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I'm sending this to a Fox News assignment editor right now.
Gosh, you're a double agent here, Bradley. Knew it all along. What's going on in the Bituation Room? You want to plug that right out the gate?
Everybody, I mean, every week, comedians, activists, organizers, experts coming on the show, and it's been really good. We've been talking about the strike a lot. We've been thrown down. We're going to talk, actually, I do like a bonus show today for the patrons. I'm going to talk about very interesting, some of that China money that might be influencing some nonprofits in the United States and some like people we might consider comrades. Does that matter? So Alex Reed Ross, who's written about this, is going to talk to me in a little bit. That's at 1 o'clock Pacific. But also, guys, if you like stand-up, I'm going to be doing stand-up in San Francisco at the Punchline on October 17th with a comedian and my beloved Matt Lieb. So you guys should come check it out if you're a fan.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Wait, what? San Francisco when again, did you say?
October 17th. It's a Tuesday. It's a very hot day. Very difficult to book a Tuesday. I don't know if you guys know that. But no, yeah, come out if you're in SF or the Bay and you want to, check out some stand up. But no, man, things are good. I'm glad to go to the picket line. It's a randomly like not sweltering day in Los Angeles. Nice. So I think you're gonna have a lot of literally fair weather picketers coming out.
But those are the ones that fill in the gaps, the fair weatherers, right? And
we do.
And that's important too, just solidarity in numbers.
Absolutely. Also, I'm not in either union, so this is also my attempt to be like, hey, when this is all over, remember I was here. You know what I'm saying? Like, right? Hire me. All right.
Sam was on the picket lines yesterday in New York.
It'd be nice if it like turned into like a sort of a solidaristic union or networking opportunity. Like I watched the A24 movie Talk to Me, and I was happy to see that because A24 has complied with the union demand, so they're allowed to go forward with productions through this.
That's right.
And to me, it's like I don't know. I don't need movies from the studios. I don't need another movie from a studio that doesn't want to comply with. Because I mean, I don't watch many movies anyway. But like, if you're a studio that's not wanting to give into union demands here and want to use AI, like, I don't need your product anymore. I'll just go watch A24 and whatever studios will fall in line.
Yeah, I think the problem is like where the fact that the streamers now just have all of that content when it's not in theaters.
And like those, I mean, the capitalization of those giant companies, it comes from the robbery of the workers previously. So it bears, it's useful to and worthwhile to like claw as much of that back. But as far as me as a consumer, like I don't care about their products.
Totally.
So you're not into Marvel, is that what you're trying to say?
I have not seen a Marvel movie since like the original Iron Man.
Oh really?
Yeah, I
you
just
don't
don't
see
care
all
about
the crossover ones.
No.
I knew I liked you, Matt, for like your political takes, but also same. I was dragged to Spider-Man, the last one, whatever the one. It was like Zendaya was cool, or Zendaya, my bad. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, I'm gonna get a lot of hate, but not into Marvel. That being said, VFX folks are voting to unionize.
Oh yeah,
I'm not sure if they already have, but
they're very exploited. I mean, like so much of the work that they do just doesn't. It gets scrapped. They're overworked. They're underpaid.
And the crunch is crazy with Marvel because they specifically Marvel will basically be like. Marvel sometimes, according to some VFX people who like spoke under the condition of anonymity because like they'd lose their jobs if they said this stuff to reporters, was like they'll look at it and be like, "Can you do this faster?" And they'll be like, "It's going to look terrible," and they're like, "We don't care."
See the Flash
more.
More.
It's like even or like Doctor Strange or any of those with like a lot of special effects or the Black Widow movie. It's like they literally don't care if it looks good. They need to make the installment calendar
content
function. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, as someone who's come from content, I have to say the like downward pressure of this general market and turning everything into just, like unregulated internet content that is, just feeding the algorithm is particularly sad. And also it's a threat to my job, which is to make that content.
We are all content makers here.
Yeah.
Proudly so. Yeah. But it is. It's a threat to free expression. I think that like and to art in that way. Because when it becomes so financialized, that hurts the art and it hurts the workers. When ostensibly these studios and streamers are supposed to be producing like a modern form of art, which is television and movies, even if some of it is crap. But
I think what has to happen is someone has to, like, once A-listers get the crap beat out of them, like, that's when it's go time. Like, I do want to see, like, Ron Perlman, like, throwing fists. I want to see Billy Crystal actually, like, get aggressed upon in the same way that, like, hotel workers here in LA have been aggressed upon. It's not going to happen.
Right.
But that might be a breaking point.
I do think... I was just gonna say, like that all this is happening at the same time. It feels like there's a lot of work to be done because our discourse isn't conducive to like drawing the connections between a UPS driver and an actor like Ron Perlman. But like the truth is people are being screwed by the same structures, which is just ownership.
Yeah.
Just taking more and more because they can.
Right.
Yep.
And maybe let's play that. Speaking of strike actions, let's play this UPS or not the UPS, the Jim Cramer UAW
Teamsters,
thing.
yeah,
Teamsters thing. So here's Jim Cramer, who has, what'd you say?
I can't remember if he's talking about the Teamsters or
No,
UAW.
it's UAW.
Oh, right,
yeah.
because of Fane. Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, Jim Cramer has just been on a complete heater of horrible anti-labor takes. I mean, he has horrible.
It's his job.
That's parts his job, but he's also ostensibly supposed to be giving investment advice, and he's bad at that too. Just like look up his track record. There have been analyses of how bad his investment advice has been over the years.
Still on television.
Still on
however.
television.
My God.
Just getting
Beautiful.
all these retirees to give their money away to the next fad. That's Jim Cramer's job. And
where did he stand on crypto? Was that like, sorry, I've got to do the...
That's a good question.
Yeah, that is a good question. I'm not sure. But even if he's just doing traditional, like, investments in that way, the analysis of his advice has been overwhelmingly negative in terms of results that he's providing for people. And again, he's an entertainer. But like, if you're 80 years old and you're watching CNBC, you might not know that. And you might internalize messages like this. This is him talking about the UAW, which has a new president, Sean Fane, and it's the United Auto Workers Union. They represent 150,000 employees, so it's a very large union, and they are likely headed towards, potentially not, but they may be headed towards a strike because the contract expires between them and the automakers on September 14th at midnight. So this is Jim Cramer talking about that possibility.
Trucks and the incredible Facebook performance by Sean Fane yesterday, where he just called the Stellantis offer trash. We're going to have, right when we start talking about the presidential election, I think the biggest strike our country has had in years, which is the UAW.
You think that's going to happen?
Yeah.
You don't think Gene Sperling can talk both sides off of ledges?
No, Gino can't do it because this guy who runs the UAW reminds me of Earl Browder. I mean, he's like a longshoreman union. The stevedores.
Well, today's the 100th day of the writers on strike.
Right.
And that rhetoric isn't cooling down after Friday's apparently failed meeting.
No, I mean, these things matter tremendously. The auto strike is going to, I have Dana on tonight.
When?
Not Zool. I have Zool
September
on tomorrow.
14th
Dana
is the
tonight. September 14th. But the fellow who's running it is just going around telling, like, if you walked in there, he would tell you. I mean, he says horrible things. He's talking about a kleptocracy, that the people who own these stocks are just bad people. I mean, Americans own these. I mean, it's like it's in your 401k.
Yeah, I haven't been focused.
Oh, you've got to focus on this guy.
Can we just
this guy is just...
pause it there for a second?
I took my eye off the ball. I haven't been focused.
Like, we don't need to be moralistic about it. The people, like, making money by owning stock is a parasitical relationship to compared to like the workers that actually build these cars. Like,
it's definitionally passive.
And so like this is what Cramer exists to do. Like that. I think like buy this stock, buy that stock is like something he occupies his time with. But he's there to represent the interests of investors at large.
Right.
And anytime labor gets more of that pie than less, then the investors get less, regardless of like which company they put the chips on.
Yeah.
But like, how much is he actually making a year? Like to be so protective, and like the media is great at this, right? But like someone like Cramer, I don't know, $500,000, $1 million a year. Like, what is he actually making? And he's just protecting like billionaires, someone he's never going to reach, even like, whatever the pockets of.
$5 million a year according to Google, which like
okay, never mind. Worth it. Totally worth it. How can I get this job? How can I no, I think it's incredible that look, 10% of the American people own stock. Like 10% of Americans. It's not like a lot of us, I'm at that age a little bit of like, is it bad I'm not invested anywhere with what a little of money that I have? Also, like, am I the last one to have a gun? Those are the two things that sort of like enter my head.
Yeah.
Like, does everyone have a gun? Everyone raise your hand if you've got stock and or a gun.
I think that though, like, your experience is much more similar to our age cohort than
who
people
invests?
above, because the one, we just like don't have disposable income in the way that our parents did, and two, the numbers bear this out, that the like under 40 coalition of people has much less money invested in the stock market than the previous generation. But let's just get this like money quote at the end here from Kramer.
Stocks are just bad people. I mean, you know, Americans own these. I mean, it's like it's in your 401k.
Yeah, I haven't been focused.
Oh, you've got to focus on this guy.
All right.
This guy is just, he was made for our show.
We should bring him on?
Oh, I want him on. Sean Fain.
Ooh, I want to see
he
that.
Should be like a co-host.
Yeah, go on.
He is so electric. He is third rail. He is using rhetoric that Elizabeth Warren would say, keep your mouth shut.
Really?
Oh, Elizabeth Warren would say, keep your mouth shut. My favorite thing is how I mean, so he's a Bernie Sanders type, sure, great, but like my favorite thing too is how Elizabeth Warren is the ultimate villain of
all those people hate
Wall
her
Street
so
people.
much.
They hate her. Everyone on Wall Street, vile, like just hatred towards her, which they've now somewhat extended to Lena Khan in the form of she's dozens and dozens of Wall Street Wall Street Journal op-eds crapping on her. But go ahead, Matt.
Jim Cramer thinks that Sean Fain is a combo of like Malcolm X and Freddy Krueger, like the most electrifying orator, but also like haunts people's dreams.
He's the chupacabra of the finance world.
It's unbelievable.
But he's also kind of saying like debate me, and also like, oh, he'd get clicks. Like there's a little bit of that in there.
Well, he's still a media guy at the end. This is Sean Fain. Here we go.
Yeah, so this is what Kramer was talking about here with regards to he didn't just call it trash, he dramatized it.
The union Babadook here, Sean Fain.
Everything they're looking for in this document is about concessions. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do with their proposal. I'm going to file it
what is he gonna
in
do?
its proper place.
Oh, no.
That's where it belongs, the trash, because that's what it is. Everything they're looking
Oh my God. Yeah, Sean.
And I mean,
Jim Cramer wetting himself.
So afraid.
Jim Cramer
But
wetting
did the
himself.
same thing. This is how it starts.
Last week, David Griscom and I had Darna Noor on A Left Reckoning, and we talked about Sean Fain and talking about all sorts of stuff that I really like to hear a union leader talk about, which is like one of the person saying like you got to get them to respect the 40-hour work week, and he's like, yeah, actually we got to move down to 32-hour work week. We should not be wasting so much of our lives earning profit for a boss. And it's like, damn, man, like this is. And we saw this with Mick Lynch and the RMT strikes in the UK, but as somebody who is a socialist propagandist as a job, it is so nice to have to be able to substitute union leaders for politicians because look, there's a lot of politicians I love, Bernie down to the squad. I think they do a lot of good work, but it's a lot more clear when it's people actually fighting to put food on the table of their members. Because there is of course politics that have to be done here too, but it's a lot more direct.
Well, they don't have the same calculations. We don't know about backroom deal. Like I saw, criticism of AOC for endorsing Bernie and stuff like that, and we don't know what concessions she got. We'll never know. Probably we don't know what those negotiations.
Which is one of the problems with that strategy, though. Like it's alienated from the DSA should have some committee that is if we, and I think we need to grow DSA more so we like that's worth AOC's time to have that level of accountability. But like that is a problem where like if you're making based on you as an individual politician these sorts of, and it's somewhat unavoidable, but if you're making these decisions and the movement has no idea what you're doing, that is not a good situation to be in.
I'm in agreement. My point is just that's what that's why politicians are limiting in that way. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I think in union memberships, like there's no political litmus test. They're of all stripes, right? There might be Trumpers there. But what's the contract? What are we getting for it? And that's not to say like reach across the aisle and actually the far right and the far left can come together. No. But it does keep everything a lot more concrete and accountable. And that's the thing with like, organizations like the DSA or the lack of a movement is there's no direct line of accountability. And, you could argue there was a little bit in terms of the Sunrise Movement, a little bit of Justice Dems when it came to like that whole, remember the working groups between the Bernie Biden camps?
Mm-hmm.
It's better than the nothing that preceded it, certainly.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's a step, but I do think like we kind of lost the thread and there still isn't a movement.
But I think this sort of stuff, like, I think this is what we were missing. Like, I don't think a movement can come just from electoral season.
Yep.
Right.
I think we need, like, actually these sorts of people to set the agenda. So then all of a sudden you have Marianne Williamson and Corbyn or anybody like trying to get attention off this stuff for the electoral season, because that's when people pay attention. Set the agenda on this instead of like should the 3 kids in Utah who want trans affirming care, should we bully them with the governor's office?
Yeah, right.
I just back to finance. Like, there was this really scary article that came out in early 2020 when like Warren and Bernie were jumping out strong. I mean, I don't know if Warren really ever jumped out strong. Oh, okay. But like, you know, when it was like clear that they were getting a lot more traction and especially Bernie, right? And it was like unnamed Wall Street execs who were like, look, I think Donald Trump tried to overthrow this nation and a democratic election, and I don't agree with any of that, but yes, I would vote for and prefer a second Donald Trump term than Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders.
Oh, totally.
That will always persist. So I just, like, if we ever get traction, if and when we really actually we win that primary, watch how finance and Wall Street will completely throw down with the fascists time and time again.
Every time. Speaking of presidential elections, I wanted to play this DeSantis clip here. Curious about your womanly perspective on this, Francesca, because this is like, you know, a way that I guess conservatives like to conceive of their marriages, right? As being traditional, and the woman doing wifely duties, and the man doing the manly duties, like shitting the bed on the campaign trail, that kind of thing. This is Ron DeSantis with his wife. And she here speaks about when she was undergoing some sort of medical treatment. She had cancer, okay? This is how Ron supported her. This seems incredibly basic to me, but curious what your take is on this level of, you know, giving that he gave to his wife going through cancer.
That comes upon your family, and so I had to rely on him in a really big way. There were times when I was going through 6 rounds of chemotherapy, I was going through 6 weeks of radiation and 3 surgeries, and I couldn't get up. I couldn't do very many things. I couldn't pick up my 3-year-old when they wanted me to hold them, and I had to tell them a little bit of a fib that mommy's arm hurts and I have to go back to the hospital because it's about my arm, and it wasn't about the arm. And to this day, they have no idea of what I've been through, and I'll tell them.
To tell your
they don't know. I've never told my kids about the cancer battle because they don't think that they're old enough to really understand what that means, and so at some point we will tell them. But you asked the question about what kind of a dad he is. When you're going through opportunities where you can barely scrape yourself off the bathroom floor because you're sick, and your children are calling for you and you physically cannot get to them, but you have somebody who was not only running the state of Florida and was there for the people of his state, he was there for me. And he was there to go pick up my kids when I couldn't. And he did it with humility, and he did it with love.
Weird.
And I'll tell you what,
yeah, I'll pick
can't
him
ask
up.
for a better husband than that.
Yeah, you know, I mean,
How does it feel? How does it feel to hear her say that? I mean,
well, look, that's, you know, in sickness and in health, that's what you sign up for. I mean, and so she's not only my wife, she's my best friend, and she's the person that I would want. I've always dreamed to be the mother of my children, and so, you know, this is just what you do. I mean, you know.
What a sacrifice. What a sacrifice that he made.
In Florida, on the way home from work, yeah, I got him.
I know, I was a governor, but I still picked up the kids.
In Florida, I picked up my children. In Florida.
Yeah, but back to woke Disney. You see, here's the thing. Ariel was never meant to be black. And like,
we're seeing Ariel as a trans, and she's a mermaid.
Yeah, it's very radical politics under the sea. There's a transgender agenda under the sea. That's actually part of the song when they sing it. Fish can, in fact, change genders, and I think we need to talk more about that. But she said, my kids. Now, from what I just, sleuthed on Wikipedia, I was like, wait, does she have kids from another marriage? She's like, my kids? Like, what's going on? No.
The favor would make a little more sense.
Their kids. Also, favor, the way you said, like,
I mean, I said that, but yeah.
Right. They're your kids. So anyway, he picked up the kids. And he's just going, well, anyway, that's what I signed up for. And here's what I watched this clip and I'm like, yo, that's the face of someone. Look, I don't know for sure, but that's the face of someone who knows deep down they're kind of a POS and they definitely cheated on her. Like, I'm just saying, because if you're really a great dad, if you're like a great dad and you were there for, you're like, I love this woman and she was so strong and she battled cancer and she got through it and our kid, all that stuff. Instead, you're like, oh God, don't tell her about the time you partied with Matt Gates. And,
the thing I see though, Francesca, is like the fact that he seems uncomfortable with her getting the opportunity to speak in this way. Like he doesn't like that.
She's much. I will say, I watched I unfortunately watched 15 out of the 20 minutes of this interview. She is way better at politicking than he is.
Apparently, she's the one who's been the Lady Macbeth, right behind the scenes.
Like she's very well spoken. She's very well spoken. And when he talks, I'm like, wait, it almost seems like she is the one running for president. And he's sort of her lackey.
She can't because she needs to be with the kids. That's what women do. And only in extreme circumstances, when they're getting chemotherapy and radiation, do they not do their wifely duties. And it's really big of Ron to have acted a little bit like a woman, and spend time with the kids. That's for women. Did
I stop by a high school kegger a little bit on the way to and from?
That's when he spends time with children. Yeah, that's usually the context.
Can we that was a NBC News reporter who asked that question.
Mm-hmm.
She was the one, by the way, who did the Fetterman interview, and she was like, he was extremely cognitively impaired.
Interesting, because this is like journalism for adult babies.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
I think that was on the Today
A relevant
Show.
question is, you were first lady. Who paid for that cancer insurance? And do you think maybe we should extend that? Cancer is horrible. To use it as a propaganda device to get fucking Ron DeSantis elected is despicable to me. Yeah. And to be oh yeah, he was there to pick up the kids from soccer practice. I'm sorry that we are so far removed from anything relevant to people's lives.
Yeah.
But it's just it's emotional. So NBC News. That should have been Newsmax. What are we doing?
Well, that's a daytime. I think it was aired on the Today Show, right?
The preview was aired on the Today Show, but that specifically, the longer interview was It was
a nightly news.
It was the
segment?
NBC News special aired. That segment as well as the DeSantis one-on-one interview were both on Lester Holt's.
Get to know the candidates are horrible pieces.
They're terrible.
Journalism.
Yeah, they're terrible.
I don't care. Let's talk about how Ron DeSantis is overseeing this deep discrimination against gay and trans kids in the state. Let's talk about his past with allowing for torture in front of his face, as he's supposed to be the advocate
for wanting to cut Medicaid or Medicare, right? And both of those programs. But I think that's such a great pivot of how did you survive that? What was it like? What was the experience in and out of the hospital? Were the bills piling up?
How do you
all
feel,
that.
Does it make you empathize with your constituents who write into the governor's office saying, hey, I'm going broke because I got cancer?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it also proves that they're trying so hard to make Ron DeSantis a formidable, a couth Republican opponent. And they can't. And every time he's offered hey, here's a child with an ice cream cone, be normal, dude. He's just well, I ain't so much sugar. And they're oh God.
Yeah, Bradley's gonna pull up the latest retail. Well, we've played this many times, but it never gets old. This is
actually a bit of a longer clip of him doing the have a beer with Ron thing, and he just doesn't really know how to talk to other people.
Look, I've been at parties and I've been exactly like this. This is the most DeSantis has been relatable to me.
But relatable is not what Republican voters want.
Of course, yeah. No, they want
strong
party
man.
king.
Trump. They want the guy that's gonna be I'm the president. I'm the decider.
There's a new keg around back. Go get it, guys.
Not the guy that's socially
he can definitely
anxious.
provide that.
I would literally never share a beer with you.
Yeah.
So fun. Oh God.
I've been here. Staying late. What time is it? It's gotta be past 10 o'clock.
God, I gotta
Yeah, it's too late to call my wife. They're all sleeping right now. Yeah, 11 o'clock. Yeah, I mean, we normally, like, I know you got to do events, but like we're usually like pumpkins once we get to 10 at night. As long as we get the kids down, my wife and I, we craft. That's awesome.
Oh gosh, try to enjoy that course.
We're gonna see you guys at the fair and everything like that. So we're gonna go to Brenda's, and I'm doing.
Yeah. I spent 40 minutes with my staff determining what beer I should drink. It's got to be cheap, but it can't be Bud Light because that's for the trans. So I got this Coors Light, and I really want to get out of here.
I love that construction. Looking at my phone for the time, implying that I heavily do not want to be here and would rather be asleep. And
usually I am asleep.
Then very matter-of-factly saying, okay, so we'll see you later, I guess, right at the fair.
Yeah,
I'm gonna see it another time.
I've been in that situation. You don't drink a beer faster than when you're like not wanting to be there, but using it as a way to like stop your mouth from just saying whatever comes into it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But that's not but that's your quality, Matt, as someone who loves like books and video games. This is a person who's running for president. So
yeah, Matt's just like, hey, you guys rather be reading right now? You're like,
I was playing Resident Evil recently, and in Florida, we hate zombies.
But it's just for the camera. First of all, we are in a conference room of a hotel, the least exciting place. There's not even
the lighting is horrible.
There's the lighting. Exactly. I'm saying there's not even mood lighting. There's not even little like
where they get that carpet from.
Exactly. Surrounded by cameras, given a Coors just like in their hand, and they have to chit chat, and he cannot do it.
No.
At all.
To be clear, when we have like meetups ahead of the Majority Report live shows, I'm way more affable than that. I'm just talking about other situations.
Sure.
Yes.
Sure. We believe you. I believe you for sure.
Yes. I've experienced it.
Okay, Ken. This is some like we're gonna break into. Did you say because you're high or you're hot?
I don't know. I think it was some interference. I'm not sure. I said hi.
He said hi.
Oh, I thought you said because I'm hot, and I was like, all right,
Yeah,
go
that probably
off,
helps
Matt.
too, yeah. I like my chances over DeSantis.
I mean, anyone.
No,
should.
here's the thing. He can't work a room. You know, where you got to get in the room and like, hey, how's your wife? Nice. Hey, how's it hanging? Oh, let me touch them. You know, like there's, sorry.
But yeah, I really wish I was home right now. I'm really tired.
Yeah, we're usually asleep right now. Anyway.
Wow, it's so early. I want to go to sleep.
Do you guys like sleep?
Every human does that, right?
Does everyone
Sometimes
else
I'm
sleep?
sleeping, sometimes I'm awake, and I kind of alternate between those two states.
Beer, wow, beer.
Wow,
Interesting
beer.
taste.
We usually drink an Aperol Spritz. You ever heard of a Spritz? No, Spritz is for
Also-
you. Yeah, it's lighter.
One other connection that I learned just glancing over DeSantis' wife's
He drinks Aperol
Wikipedia. They
Yeah,
got married.
totally.
Guess where they got married?
Where?
In Florida. Where would you get married in Florida? That might be ironic. For,
Mar-a-Lago?
Might be ironic for DeSantis.
Yeah, it's
That's
gotta
a
be
good guess.
Mar-a-Lago. It's gotta be
He
the
got
Disney
married at
Castle.
Disney. And so like this anti-Disney guy who got married at Disney is also like referencing pumpkins, which is my understanding is a reference to Cinderella. Like this guy can't get Disney out of the brain.
Oh, he's a Disney adult. That's why he's so upset by the wokeness, right? It feels like a betrayal.
He is. He definitely has like one of those little mini backpacks, you know, like Minnie Mouse mini backpacks where you're like, really? He's got like a keychain, the whole thing. He's got the ears.
And he doesn't even do Disney adulting in the fun way that I've heard of, which is just like getting high and going on the rides. That sounds fun. He's probably
I think it's microdosing shrooms and then going on Toad's Magic Wild Ride or
I mean,
like
why
that.
not both?
I do think that all of our politicians. What?
I said it's cost prohibitive.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna be thinking about that $350 I spent to get through the gate the entire
That's
trip.
true. That's true. That's true. But not for Ron. He's dead sober, grimacing as he goes down Splash Mountain.
He has passes. He has like annual passes that they had to like rip up in front of the little kids.
I would love to see the picture of Ron, that they take on the roller coasters at like the peak moment of thrill. And
Yes.
it's like you can buy it for $20 afterwards. I'd like to see those of Ron's, mouth wide open.
I'd like to buy them.
How many
honestly.
dimples does he have? Just like without looking.
A bunch, but they're not in the places you'd expect. not in the right places. I'll say that. Anyway.
Oh, it's fun because he's gonna lose, guys.
Yeah, I really love piling on because he's a horrible human being. I don't know who I hate more, him or Trump. At least Trump's fun sometimes.
And the other thing is they'll never run Casey. Like, even if that were the smarter move for Florida, for the country, if, she used to be a broadcaster, whatnot, or a host, like, she could crush, but she will never be able to because she's married to that deadweight Ron DeSantis.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. Francesca.
Anyway, support your strong men.
I'm
Emma,
letting you go.
Bradley, Matt, let me go. Thank you so much for having me on. It's been real.
No, yeah. I mean, again, check out the Bituation Room. It's great stuff.
Thank you.
Big fan. Francesca's the best.
Thank you.
All right. And check out, if you're in San Francisco, October 17th.
Yes, I think there's a link maybe somewhere in the description. But bye. Hope to see you guys again.
All right. See you soon.
Bye, Francesca.
Bye. All right, guys. With that, we're going to wrap up the free part of this show. Head into the fun half. We'll take your calls, read your IMs, have some fun. The number 646-257-3920. Reminder, guys, Sunday is Michael Brooks's 40th birthday. We will be celebrating his memory on Monday. So tune in for that. But before, happy birthday, Michael, on Sunday. So check that out on Monday. It'll be a great show. Matt, what's happening on Left Reckoning?
Left Reckoning, we had Cale Brooks on to talk about degrowth on Sunday. Patreon.com/Left Reckoning. David and I are going to be taking issue with not the live commenters of Majority Report, who are great, but the YouTube commenters on the video that we posted last night about the woman who was complaining and got showed on Fox News because she said the American dream is gone because her kids can't afford rent. And I must say, I look at the comments to that video, and I'm so disgusted by the amount of people who say that's what you get for voting Republican, or maybe blame Reagan and Bush. That like, you think the only response to that is that you behave yourself better on election day, instead of like saying broadly this is a problem where people are growing in awareness that the water around them is growing to a boiling point. I think shows a real deficiency in and I don't think it's the people who watch the show live. I think it's more the drive-by commenters. That video has got like 100,000 views.
Yeah.
But like, we got a lot of work to do with regards to feel. And look, all sides like vote shame. I think the people that like are very superior about that I only vote Green Party and people who vote Democrat support imperialism, I think they're bad. But like, this vote shaming by Democrat partisans is just like, man, you guys aren't even close. Like, the idea that if we would have had more Clinton terms or more Obama terms, that rent wouldn't be like basically what it is now. I find
it's
it
a
hard
shallow
to
understanding of politics.
It's really bad,
and it's not. You have to be on the left. Be interested in ameliorating suffering for everybody, not just your political
and you can't blame
allies.
You can't blame propagandized people for being propagandized. Like everybody who makes those sort of comments would probably feel in their own little social group that they're the Noam Chomsky that understands how the media is lying to people, and yet you react to people who have been misled their entire lives by, billion-dollar media organizations, and you just call them idiots. And that's misanthropy. That's where I say you can't be misanthropic and actually be on the left. You're just going to be a reactionary liberal.
Right. And on ESPN, we spoke about the U.S. women's national team's loss, the Republican backlash to it and cheering of it, I should say. Netflix's quarterback series, how awesome that was. We gave our thoughts on it and gave some options for NFL rookies with fantasy upside. YouTube.com/ESPN show. All right, guys, again, the number is 646-257-3920. See you in the fun half. We are back. We are having some issues right now with the call system, so I'm not sure if we're going to be able to get to calls. We're trying. Matt is hard at work here. For now, we're going to read some IMs, see if we can get it up. Never mind. Get it going. Get it going. Serpent Deflector says, I'm supporting Ron DeSantis for president so he can be an inspiration to us socially anxious kings. Yeah. I get it. Single issue voter. Leach says, I don't disagree with Matt, but where do we draw the line on people needing to take responsibility for their own actions and votes? Of course, people get misled, lied to, etc., but that's no excuse for living ignorantly in their privilege.
It's no. Sorry, I have to cut you off. Like again, like it's not vote. Like just because you voted Democrat every single one of those years, you did not do anything. Like, you did okay. Sorry, you did just barely more by going with the party that like basically has more support to labor and minority groups. But like again, like it's going to take way more than just voting for Democrats. And again, like nowhere. At no point in my politics do I say, oh yeah, the problem here is the people.
Yeah.
Because that goes nowhere. What that does for you is you can feel superior about people and say like, actually, like I just have no patience for this. At no point is my answer to that.
Yeah. I mean, I think that there's a limit though. Like when you say you can't judge people for being propagandized. Like I judge the people that stormed the Capitol.
Oh yeah, well
I'm sorry.
You need to be
like,
yes, no, of course like being ideologically like
being a coup person is different than being just like a standard Republican because there's millions of them, guys.
Again, like but like you're only it's only a variation of like if you are a centrist Democrat, if you're a supporter of like all these people complain about Joe Manchin, you're not a whole lot more different to me than somebody who says like, yeah, I vote for Chris Christie. Like I think it's basically you have a different social circle.
Yeah.
Like mainly. And so like I just focusing on the voting of it is different than saying these people are ideologically committed conservatives, because I do think that people have seen my Twitter feed. I'm not like wearing kid gloves around people that are propaganda.
Totally.
Like, but like and it's for their good and everybody else's that you are direct in like the messaging there. But when people are saying, hey, there's no rent, we can't pay rent here, something's changed. To say
I'm
like,
suffering.
Hey,
yeah.
you voted Reagan, so you don't get to complain. But I voted Bill Clinton, so I do get to complain. I think you're out to fucking lunch. And again, like it I don't see where it even. I don't even know what good it does besides.
It doesn't. It's just
you feel
about
superior.
feeling like, yeah, I'm on the right team. But the difference between the teams, is that the team on the left is there to ameliorate the suffering of everybody. Like that is the desire. The Republican Party wants their group to be elevated, and not even like always their group, the elites within their circle, and then to put their boot on the necks of minorities, of women, of trans people, of gay people, and we have to be the exact inverse of that.
I just want to know what step 2 is. Step 1, hold people accountable for their votes. Do we hold you accountable for your votes? Like, or is it just because you voted for Kristen Sinema that you get to, like, because she was on the right team, you don't have any, like, the accountability is not on the voting. To me, it's like, if you're doing, you have to do more. Be a part of some other movement. Be like that's it has to be more than just what you do on election day and what like comments you write in comment sections.
Yeah. And so much of this is determined by social circles and geographic placement and like things that once people's minds are open and they're met with like real language about how to turn their suffering into larger class consciousness, you have to hope that is a fluid like concept that people can learn and get better. And then writing just people off based on their votes. To what Matt says, it's wrong.
The problem is that we aren't all in like unions and political organizations. It's not that like we haven't voted for Democrats enough. And like I don't think there's debate about this, and I appreciate all the people who are saying I'm right, because I am.
Charlie Jerk says, sorry, but Democrats bad is a moral position. Just ask Jimmy Dore.
No, those people are the flip side. Jimmy's wrong for the exact same vote shaming reasons as those people are.
Mhm.
They're just the flip side of the coin.
Juniper J, sorry, Matt. It's very important to vote in the way in the general election that will keep out the worst candidate, and that is always a Republican. That's exactly what Matt's saying.
Yeah, I don't deny that, but I don't think it's the voters' problem. Like that. Great job for coming to the realization that Democrats are better than Republicans on balance. That reality says, okay, the problem here is all these idiots and the way that they're engaging with democracy, and not like, oh, we need to get organized, because that's the only time this has ever happened. The only time like the New Deal happened because everyone from like liberal New Dealers to communists were getting serious about it. It wasn't like, oh, you guys are voting for Hoover, so you deserve that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. So they voted wrong. Then what?
Great job. Like, let's send people a medal who voted right.
Serpent Deflector. I'm supporting Ron DeSantis. Well, I already read that. Charlie Sheeher, to Matt's point about vote shaming, I live in a solid blue state with one of the worst inflated housing markets out there. Voting blue ain't enough, and anyone on the right who recognizes how bad things should be taken as an opportunity to highlight this kind of problems, the kind of problems fiscal conservatism leads to. I say conservatism, by the way, because it's an ideology found in both parties, and I make that clear to the folks that I'm talking to. They don't always listen, but it works occasionally.
Yep. Thank you.
Lawful Waffle, an SNL type skit where politicians / elites are giving plaudits for increasingly inane tasks. Chris Burdick, hey, DeSantis was very sweet to his wife when she was sick. He brought her Thai food. He hand-fed her chocolate pudding. Oh my God, this is horrible imagery. St. James, hi, Majority Crew. I think we may require another appearance by body language expert David Cross. DeSantis may present a challenge. Honestly, that's a great idea. We should write that down.
Yeah, that would be very good.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite moments early on in working here when we were still on Zoom. Thank God, no longer. Dan from Columbus, I sent my last IM just before Francesca made the same point. She and I are on the same wavelength today. Dan from Columbus says the earlier IM is may just be a slip of the tongue, but Weird DeSantis' wife refers to their kids as my kids, not our kids. JR in Philly, personally, I have never touched my child. Between the 1 and the 5, 11% of U.S. labor is unionized, 6% are private sector employees. I think that if we can get the private sector up to 20 to 30%, and they do a good job of branching out into the community, then politicians will be forced to notice, and we can actually make a difference in politics. Until then, we have to strengthen labor. Yeah, I mean, that's a great goal. Midwest Queer, Jim Cramer might be the worst Kramer to speak into a microphone. That's a Kramer from Seinfeld reference.
Oh, I don't.
Yeah, who said the N-word.
Yeah.
Very infamously. Chris from Taiwan. I lived in Ecuador for 1.5 years while Rafael Correa was president, and Ecuador has gone to hell since I lived there. You can see it, and I feel it just walking around in the cities now. Correa's successor from the same political party totally betrayed the movement and started to return Ecuador to the days of neoliberalism. Hence, poverty and crime have been exploding, and the drug gangs are back in full force. I had to stay in the port city of Guayaquil overnight because of the delayed connecting flight. When I was there a few months ago, the whole city was on lockdown because of gang murders, and they told us not to leave the hotel. Very sad. Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping to get a guest on about Ecuador at some point soon. But I appreciate that context, Chris. Baltimore Live Show says, great to see you on Leftist Mafia last night. Emma, thank you. DJ from Wisconsin, as a F teacher, I think former teacher you mean, in Wisconsin. Oh, wait, a F teacher in Wisconsin has allegedly been having sex with, okay, here we go. A female teacher in Wisconsin has allegedly been having sex with a male freshman student. The school board allegedly attempted to cover it up. The same school board who has banned safe spaces, banned face coverings during the height of the pandemic, allowed children who tested positive for COVID to come to school unmasked, has banned all LGBTQ things, including flags and other symbols. So disgusting. Yeah, I mean, they don't really care about grooming. Adam says, have you guys seen Tim Heidecker's parody of Bill Maher's podcast? It's really funny. I know Sam hates Tim. That's why I thought it best to mention it on the day he's on it. Yeah, I saw a little bit of it because he was on with Fred Armisen. And they were saying, Portlandia skewering the wokes. That's what it was all about, and they were parodying that. It was pretty funny, but I want to watch the rest of it. Tater Tot says, I think Cruz gulped when Trump said 9/11. Yeah. Dave from Jamaica, Republican primary strat is hang around and hope Trump goes to jail strategy. Bound by pants, it's hard not to scheiden the Freude out of DeSantis' cratering. Yep. Prairie Fire Kowalski, howdy, Majority Report. Emma, it was awesome seeing you on Leftist Mafia. Aside from the technical issues, I thought the show was one of the better ones. Did you enjoy getting a second chance to say sack tapping to a larger audience? Also, I thank you for not selling out to the right for financial security, leftist bloggers. It was fun. Yeah, everyone should check that out. There's multiple different streams. You can find it on Matt Binder's channel. You can find it on David Dole's channel, The Rational National, The Humanist Report, among others. It was really good. Good to connect with those guys. And in my opinion, you know, they're all doing really, really great work as creators as the space like begins to open up and there are new shows cropping up. I want to support them, and you should subscribe to their channels. You really should. Rooster Disco, that was like a perfect time to seem like a human and he failed, LOL. We're still having an issue with the phones. Not happening.
Can't get the computer to react to anything.
Yeah. All right, guys. I'm sorry. No calls today. We're having technical difficulties. So more clips. Fun for the whole family. You want to do this? I want to do this Al Gore thing, and then we'll do the Goose Camp. How do you say her last name? Goosenkamp. Perez.
Loser Camp.
Yeah, we'll do her. Yeah, right. Exactly. This was from a few days ago. Al Gore did a TED Talk about direct air capture, or about climate change, and he mentions direct air capture here with, I think, a real appropriate amount of cynicism. I mention this because the Biden administration is, as of today, spending $1.2 billion on these direct air capture systems. I believe it was a part of one of the bills that was passed, maybe the Inflation Reduction Act. I think so. But I don't want to be completely positive about that. But either way.
And so it says the inflation from the Clean Air Task Force website, the IRA provides critical updates to the 45Q tax credit, which incentivizes the use of carbon capture and storage technologies.
Right. And climate activists, scientists climate scientists are skeptical about the usage of this kind of technology, as is Al Gore here. And I think he does a pretty good explanation as to why air capture, CO2 removal, not the future of combating climate change.
The one now, it's called direct air capture. These are giant vacuum cleaners that use an awful lot of energy. It's technically feasible, but it's extremely expensive, and it also uses so much energy, but it is tremendously useful. You know what it's used for? The CEO of one of the largest oil companies in the U.S. Told us what it's useful for. It's useful to give them an excuse for not ever stopping oil. A few months later, she said, this gives us, this new technology, a license to continue operating. Some people call that a moral hazard. For them, the moral hazard is not a bug, it's a feature, as the old saying goes. And so let's just look at this. Is state of the art. Looks pretty impressive, doesn't it? This is the backside of one of these machines. I had the same thought. Now this, they're improving this. They're improving this, and the new model, 7 years from now, each of these machines is going to be able to capture 27 seconds worth of annual emissions. Woo! That gives them a license to continue producing more and more oil and gas, or so they claim. Well, they also say, the experts, that in order to be economically feasible, it has to come in at $100 a ton or less. The leading company says that 27 years from now, it may come down below 3 times that amount. So again, if this sounds kind of incredible, it is not credible. But they're using it in order to gaslight us, literally. But I didn't mean it as a pun, but that's what they're using it to do, and we can't fall for it.
Everything he says there's right. This is an article from the Financial Times, and I just want you to hear what the framing is around the usage of this technology and the implementation of it by the Biden administration. The Biden administration is granting $1.2 billion to projects aiming to strip carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere in a bet on a nascent technology that it hopes will play a big role in achieving its net zero goals. The U.S. Department of Energy said on Friday that it had chosen 2 direct air capture hub developments in Texas and Louisiana as recipients for the funding, one of which is being built by oil company Occidental Petroleum, which is the CEO, who Al Gore just quoted, by the way, of that company. The projects will be the biggest of their kind. The White House hopes the grants will help to commercialize the air capture process, driving down costs and spurring a build-out across the country as President Joe Biden looks to decarbonize the world's biggest economy by mid-century. Commercialize the air capture process? This is the exact opposite direction that we should be going in.
Yep, exactly. I mean, my problem with this is not that it wouldn't be desirable to have carbon capture or whatever, these sorts of technologies. I think it's great. My problem is who authors it. And Al Gore is exactly right when he says this is being used by the CEOs as just not for any sort of like actual promise in the technology, but as a propaganda device so they can continue pumping oil. And I think the climate crisis probably needs the U.S. government to be throwing anything against the wall to see what sticks. But that wall cannot be the capitalists can't be at the bottom of that wall, taking everything that drips down, right?
Capitalists, you say?
We need to nationalize all this stuff.
Capitalists, you say? I mean, what? There are 4 or 5 names you might think of when you think of major capitalists in this country. Guess who is behind Occidental?
Warren Buffett.
Yes. Yeah. The investment is a win for Occidental, backed by Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway, which is also
Bill Gates would have been my other.
Which is also one of the I just remembered one of the executives that was financing Clarence Thomas was of Berkshire Hathaway. Anyway, which is betting that carbon management will play a big role in global decarbonization efforts. The company was the S&P 500's best performer last year and earned $12.5 billion in profits. So that's why we need to give them $1.2 billion to help them privatize this technology. Yeah. In the words of this article, to help commercialize the air capture process. Yep. When we're supposed to be, we should, as we said, the goal should be nationalizing this. And yet the Biden administration's impulse, and Jennifer Granholm, in whatever her role is as U.S. Energy Secretary in implementing this, is to just make Buffett and the rest of these investors rich off of this.
Well, it's our political class does not think any problem can be solved unless capitalists are wetting their beaks on it. That was the same Obamacare thing. This is the same thing.
Vicky Holub, Occidental chief executive, said the selection of Occidental's project in Texas was an endorsement of the company's readiness, technical maturity, and ability to move this technology forward so it can reach its full potential. The investment, she said, would position the United States as the location to demonstrate the commercial viability of direct air capture and climate relevant scale. Direct air capture sucks already emitted CO2 out of the air to be buried underground or reused in building materials, agricultural products, or fuels, rather than contribute to global warming by lingering in the atmosphere. The International Energy Agency has said that the technology will play an important and growing role in setting the world on track to achieving net zero goals as economies continue to burn fossil fuels, but it is not proven at scale, and some environmentalists worry it will slow the transition to cleaner forms of energy. And that is the key. At scale. This is impossible to scale. That $1.2 billion that is being given is for 2 carbon capture systems, one in Louisiana and one in Texas. This is like the same conversation we were having about freaking clean coal under the Obama administration. Well, not in terms of scale, but in terms of no, let's get serious about this. Let's get serious about this. And this carbon capture technology emits a ton of energy itself. So the value of this for the dollar is just not there. And I'm not the kind of person that thinks like government spending on this stuff is zero sum. But since this is a part of the Inflation Reduction Act, which was heavily influenced by coal baron dude, Joe Manchin, we should be immensely skeptical of the fact that this amount of money is going towards this technology. And I just think it's time to get a little bit more serious about this. So as other nations are electrifying their trains, we should be expanding our rail systems and doing so through clean technology as well.
Yeah, again, like I don't think the waste of government money is the proper framing of this. It's just like opportunity costs, and like if this was if that billions was overshadowed by like way more billions invested into like grid sort of centralization and like all these sorts of modernization things, and clean energy production, then I wouldn't have any problem with it, frankly. But it's that it is used. It's who gets to decide what technology is used for. Like even AI, I think, could be a useful technology, but it's being used by who is empowered in society, which is CEOs and the people who make investment decisions, to gear that technology toward how can we be labor saving and make 8 episodes of a TV show without paying writers. And that's the same thing with these sorts of carbon technologies, which I for the record, I don't think I'm as skeptical of their feasibility as I am about AI, but I am not against any sort of technological development. It's how that technology is being developed and for whom. And again, like it's not being developed for any other reason than what Gore said it was.
Bourbon Enthusiast says, why would carbon capture be a good investment for a fossil capitalist? It would need something like a carbon tax, which the ExxonMobil lobbyists admitted they lobby for because it's impossible. Well, it would definitely be good because they know a good investment for them, because in the meantime, it like pushes away government intervention on how much they're burning. So it's like, hey, we have this carbon capture stuff that we're investing in too. So you don't need to cut off our ability to do business so dramatically. We're offsetting it through vacuuming it out of the air. That's the value of it. ExxonMobil and all these big oil companies, they've already made massive investments in other energy like sources and options, because they know the writing's been on the wall since the 1970s, when they had internal scientists telling them that they were contributing to the warming of the planet. They ignored it. And it's been now 2 decades of movement on this front to and it's been anemic, but to force them out of to force us all out of dependence on them. So that they're making these investments for the future of like their company. Well,
and this is why ultimately like capitalism it turns against the workers of it. So like we talked about with the actors strike and writers strike, that those producers have been getting a whole bunch of money off of the labor and the favorable deals they have for making those people work for them. And then they get to use it for propaganda, to like, grease, maybe take variety writers out to nice dinners, do this AI technology. And it's the same thing with fossil fuel, is like these companies. To me, it's like, I mean, I keep repeating myself, but like the workers themselves, like somebody said, like the trades support this, like, because we haven't elaborated a transition, right? Like, of course they do. And like in lieu of anything like that, like I think it's fine that they support that. I just think we need to be aware of like where it's actually politically used, and it's being used against all of us.
Hogtown France says the investment in carbon capture is political capital to keep emitting. Also in Canada, there's a carbon tax, so it has value there. But as the captured carbon is essentially fuel, hence the desire to commercialize it, not clear to me what the benefit is to suck out the carbon just to burn it again. In my opinion, this could work as a national utility where the product is stored indefinitely. Don't see that happening, though. That's a great point, and exactly what we were kind of hinting at there, which is like, if we want to use this, and I saw Matt Huber refer to this on Twitter as this should be waste management, and that's why it should be nationalized, or a part of what the government is doing, as opposed to being outsourced to Warren Buffett's outfit.
We're going to Obamacare the climate crisis, and it's going to fail.
Yeah.
It's going to be better than having done nothing, but it's going to fail miserably. And,
it's already failed.
Yeah, exactly. We've blown it.
Chevron, the only somewhat feasible direction I've seen with carbon capture is through genetically engineered algae and yeast. That is something that could scale quite well if we get it working well enough, which is probably won't be anytime soon.
It would take like a Manhattan Project style thing. I mean, Kowalski's mentioned that too about the algae. It's interesting. I mean, we're not going to do it until we decide that investors are going to get a nice return on it.
Dr. Jones says tree planting a proven carbon capture technique. Yes, but is Warren Buffett going to get rich off of that?
And you're going to need to plant a lot of trees.
Well, that's, yeah. Dave from Jamaica, best way to carbon capture as far as letting, carbon capture, as far as I know, is letting forest and wetlands grow back, letting the oil stay in the ground and move stuff like nuclear.
I think that'd be helpful, but I don't know if it's sufficient enough for how much carbon we're pumping in.
I think they're just being slightly cheeky about the...
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's certainly probably better than what the car...
It's kind of that...
Spinning those bags around.
What was it in London where they had those artificial trees that were just like green tanks
that was I know what you saw, but that was I think an AI thing.
I got duped.
Thing. But it was like, yeah, look at this green thing and it's like doesn't make shade just to have algae sitting there.
Yeah. All right, let's do Representative Perez, right? Yeah. Okay.
Loser camp.
So yeah, this is Representative Marie Gluesenkamp Perez. As Matt says, Lusenkamp.
A human embodiment of the argument against the idea that all we need to do is get the old people out of politics.
When I saw her in this video, at first, I thought she was that like TikTok comedian woman who pretends to be a woman in a romantic comedy.
I was literally telling Matt about this woman before. I thought this is like a Delaney Rowe video. If you haven't seen her,
that's her.
Yeah. TikTok not giving me Delaney Rowe stuff apparently.
She is so funny, but this could be a bit that she's doing about this woman who is in Congress.
She also could be one of Issa's co-workers at We've Got Y'all,
the nonprofit
in Insecure, the nonprofit.
A Zoe Deschanel like character from her early career, like
totally. And the difference though is that she's not a fictional character in Insecure or in 500 Days of Summer. No. She is a politician who has accepted money from the Chamber of Commerce and now done a bunch of horrible votes.
She voted to override Biden's student debt forgiveness.
Oh, speaking of that, she has apparently taken money from the Fannie or Sally Mae super PAC. Is that the student loans? Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, she's basically been voting against Democrats a ton, even though she positioned herself as a Democrat who is like a rural Democrat, right? And we have an understanding that not every Democrat is in Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's district.
Yeah, her district is apparently pretty right wing,
and that makes sense. But on stuff like that is more populist in the traditional sense, like student debt, or on issues like abortion, we expect you to toe the damn party line.
I would point this woman towards Matt Cartwright, the Democrat from Pennsylvania, who is in one of the most adverse districts in the country, and he does not take votes nearly as often as people like Marie Gluesenkamp Perez does in not siding with their own party.
But let's hear what she has to say here. Alex Salmon wrote a great piece about this in Slate, which Matt Iglesias said was horrible or something like that, which means...
Richard Hanania, conversant Matt Iglesias? Interesting.
Yeah, he didn't like the article because it didn't have any skull measuring in it. But this is the Zoe Deschanel, Kirsten Sinema of the House.
Barbie or Oppenheimer from Jason. Okay, this is gonna make me sound like such a Luddite, but I can't remember the last time I saw a movie.
Oh my god.
And we didn't have Barbies in the house growing up. But I do like nuclear power. I'm vaguely aware of what's going on in pop culture. Really, someday might get to engage in that. But okay, so I guess that was a dodge, but see ya.
in an alternate universe, Zach Braff is just like biting his knuckle, pining over this woman.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I just like
Jason Biggs is just like, this
I
is
just
the love
like,
of my life.
I don't own a television. Like it's a little
A little commercial for me.
yeah. Like I just like to be like by a tree, you know, and then I'll vote.
Taking Chamber of Commerce money.
Yeah.
Making sure that people still pay their student debt on time.
I just like to like watch the water, and then after that, I'm gonna vote against trans affirming care.
She owns a mechanic shop that if you have a Google account, you might want to review. After voting, this is from the Debt Collective. After voting to kill your student debt cancellation, Rep Golden and Rep MGP, MGP is Mary Gluesenkamp Perez, who we're talking about here, were rewarded with a donation from Sally Mae's PAC to the Blue Dogs, which they co-chair. So yeah, look, I think I do take the point that like she basically beat a Nazi.
Yeah.
Look, you can win if being a blue dog. I prefer like we get to a point where those people have to call themselves independents, but the Democratic Party is still as welcoming of these people, if not way more than the squad, right? But as far as somebody who like polices the discourse to the extent like she cannot be allowed to say like actually it's good that we are questioning or like handing it to anti-abortion people or saying that student loan is for like the PMC, student loan debt cancellation is for the PMC. Like that can't be allowed to fly. And so like that's what I would say to people who are saying like, well, what do you want a Republican to win? It's like I don't want her to influence the Democratic Party. So like that's my main the thing I'm trying to inoculate.
So yeah, if Kirsten Sinema is like the girl boss, you know, right wing Democrat in the Senate, MGP here is the manic pixie dream girl version in the House. And I just want to read from Alex's piece because this is a summary of why the left is directing ire towards her. She was one of just 7 Democrats to sign with Kevin McCarthy on a resolution condemning the use of elementary school facilities to provide shelter for undocumented immigrants. She voted present rather than yes on the failed effort to expel Republican con man George Santos. She voted with Republicans in favor of the Save Our Gas Stoves Act, a completely ridiculous messaging bill that the LA Times editorial board called pro-fossil fuel foolishness. She voted with Republicans to repeal the D.C. Criminal Code revision, which the D.C. ACLU called an insult to the name of democracy and common sense, although there were some Democrats on board with that, including Biden, who did not veto it.
Yeah.
And she was one of only 4 Democrats to vote for a National Defense Authorization Act that limited transgender health care and diversity training banned critical race theory for military personnel, and most jarringly restricted abortion access for service members. This last vote cost her credibility with abortion activists at a time when abortion is perhaps Democrats' winningest issue. Greg Green, who spent 6 years as an associate director of Planned Parenthood Federation for America, said that Gluesenkamp Perez's vote for the NDAA raises real questions about how much she's willing to stand by her campaign rhetoric about defending reproductive freedom. And then again, we mentioned the student debt stuff. So that's just a taste. Again, the Chamber of Commerce donations. She did pledge to refuse corporate PAC money, but recent campaign filings show that she was one of just 8 Democrats to accept a donation from the Chamber of Commerce. So that's pretty bad.
Yeah, we need to recalibrate so many shitty politicians are getting by on, I won't take PAC money. It's, well, do you have union support? Like that's all I'm really if you have every union supporting you, take as much PAC money as you want, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the Chamber of Commerce is one of the leading groups opposing student debt cancellation.
Right.
So that's
of course,
that
yeah,
explains her vote.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah, that's MGP for you in case you were wondering what the controversy was about.
And we're going to get so many articles by The Atlantic and whatever the hell being like, hey, look at these new young centrist Democrats making a huge splash among all of the sort of Ivy League editors that work at our kind of publications.
Yep. Mike in Washington, she campaigned like she was a progressive, then betrayed myself and others who voted for her. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Let us know about what your perception of is like to the extent that there could be a challenger to her left. I'm curious what people say.
Majority Report wardrobe coordinator wearing something similar to a referee's uniform to show that I'm above the fray and a neutral arbiter. I got to be honest, I kind of like her top. Kind of like it. Sorry.
But maybe I know that seems like a dodge. I love that she's acknowledging that she's literally dodging a question about fucking Barbie and Oppenheimer.
Well,
the thing that
the stuff that matters.
What's off-putting to me is like they uploaded that. Like that wasn't part of a larger maybe it was, but like they clipped that specifically, like what non-entity as far as content goes.
Yeah.
To be like, yeah, I don't have a TV and I don't even know what movies are you talking about. I'm vaguely aware of pop culture and like nuclear power.
Steely Danarchy, does she know what a Luddite is? Projected movies have been around for like 130 years.
Yeah, Luddites love nuclear power too.
All out of bubblegum.
Well, I'm a Luddite and I kind of am okay with nuclear power, but we'll move on.
Well, yeah, I mean, she also opposes an assault weapons ban and called for an increase in police hiring to tamp down on property crime. Yeah. Franklin Delano Disco, if anything, MGP taking all of those votes is going to kill her this election because left-leaning voters won't turn out for her. Not that should give her any cover, but even from an electoral standpoint, it is profoundly dumb.
Right, like that's the thing is like, okay, like oh, she won that thing. I was like, can she keep it?
Right,
right. Or should we bend over backwards for this person with horrible policy that we don't even know can maintain her position?
I mean, let's be honest too. Like, I know it's a purple district, but Katie Porter, for all of my issues with her, has shown that it can be done. She leans into the economic populism element, and she's able to maintain her seat.
But I mentioned Matt Cartwright, who's a Democrat in Pennsylvania. His district is 1% on like the political index from Cook Political Report. Less red than Marie Gluesenkamp Perez's. He's a member of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. He's a staunch labor advocate. We have Chris DeLuzio in Pennsylvania, who's also a staunch labor advocate who was just elected. John Tester in Montana as a senator. Sherrod Brown in Ohio. Tammy Baldwin in Wisconsin. You do not need to be this person to represent that type of electorate. You just don't. There are literal examples in the House and Senate that fly in the face of having to be this type of person.
And when like, you know, the stuff about her voting in favor of fossil fuels, I expect that. But I mean, we're not unrealistic about votes you have to take in rural districts or in redder districts. But on layup issues like abortion, layup issues like student debt, no pussyfooting around here.
Yeah, and like, look, if your votes, like, I'm not gonna say that, but like, I'm not gonna let these people sort of message that what they're doing is right. What you're doing is craven, and it's about you clinging to power.
Yeah,
It's not gonna be welcomed into like the broader discourse of what strategy needs to be done.
Antonin Scalia Go says, y'all see Joe Rogan say conservatives whining about Barbie is stupid and overblown. I didn't.
Don't care.
Because I agree.
He does a lot of stupid overblown shit, so he can go freak out about white genocide in South Africa some more.
Mike in Washington says, I'm in Vancouver, Washington, and while we are I am in response to your question, Matt.
Yeah.
While we are just a stone's throw away from Portland, it is a fairly red district. She replaced Jamie Herrera Butler. Not excited for our prospects.
Interesting.
I
mean, if you're gonna lose, you might as well lose with a class-focused campaign. But that's just me.
JR in Philly, oh my God, I am standing this queen so hard. I love nuclear power too. Ostensibly leftist. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, these people are good. Mary Peltola, the Alaska member of the New Dog.
Yeah,
they're good at occasionally getting an issue that might make might prick people's ears up. Peltola voted against breaking the rail strike.
Yep.
And it wasn't, and I'm like, what the hell's going on here? That they've got a new good Democrat, and it turns out, no, not really.
She is an example of how this woman could be conducting herself and going right on one particular issue and hammering. She was the one that wanted drilling in Alaska and the Peltola, yeah. And I don't agree, but I understand why she takes that stance.
And Alaska is an extremely bizarre political environment. That was the seat vacated by Don Young, who died.
Yes.
And
Sarah Palin.
And her and Sarah Palin are like best friends.
Really?
And they pledged to vote for one another in their race. Like there's just like bizarre collegiality, political nebulousness that goes on in Alaska that I think is like hard to actually parse relative to like other states.
And I'll go back to my point about like one, like there's the imperatives of we need to just stop fossil fuels in general, right? But I do think there is a degree of difference between a state like Alaska drilling, where they give out dividends for oil wealth.
Under Palin, they've been doing that since then.
Yeah, and then like same like my home state, which is like you better hope that you own that land, or you're just gonna have to put up with all this increased traffic and stuff.
Yeah, just reminds me how excited I am for Killers of the Flower Moon to come out in the fall.
Oh yeah, I saw that trailer the other night.
It looks pretty good,
yeah.
right? I mean, it's Scorsese. Star Fox, Emma and crew, can the folks in the server get a TGIF show? Far been a long week for some people, so we'd like a little boost. Thank you as always. Love you all in the server. Left is best. Matt is going to the soundboard. Here he goes. Thank you, Matt. Antonin Scalia says, "Oh, I wasn't saying good job, Rogan. I was just trying to show how fickle he is and how no one should listen to him."
No, fair enough. I didn't mean to like snap at you because I know that's what you were saying. But yeah, like Rogan will do this. Okay, it's like when Rogan's like, "Hey, if you're anti-immigrant, you're not on the team," and it's like, well, you should book your show as if that's the case.
Wait, he says what?
Back in like 2017, he had some sort of board like kids in cages thing of like, if you like kids in cages, you're not on the team.
Right.
And he's
a different guy.
He's had a whole bunch of people who have completely like minimized that nonsense.
Yeah, and he was always that guy, but now he's a different evolution of that guy who's been propagandized. But not someone who you should have sympathy for because he's ostensibly a broadcaster and has immense resources to educate himself. To more from the five, I haven't been to the cinema since 2011 and largely ignore pop culture, particularly of the US-based variety. Does that make me a Luddite? Seems unlikely since I watch and listen to absolute shitload of English comedy from decades past and present.
Yeah, I know. I mean, don't get me started on people misusing the term Luddite, which I'm very jealously a guardian over, because I think Luddites are fundamentally good, and we should model over. Which is, to be quick, not that technology is bad, but who gets to accrue the benefits of technology?
Manny, is anyone of you ever want to make video essays? I can edit videos for free if anyone needs help.
I would feel bad for making you edit videos for free.
Yep.
And I honestly, though, I would love to make video essays. It's difficult, though.
It is. That's why I wanted to have Chill Goblin on, for example.
Yeah.
Is because
it takes a lot of time.
It's so it's honestly the best format that YouTube has to offer in terms of education, I think.
I do.
And but it's so hard to do and takes so much work, and when it's just one video, it's really hard to monetize that. Yeah. When you're making content on YouTube, it's all about volume. And so support your favorite video essayists through Patreon, whether it be Sean, whether it be Timba on Toast, whether it be Chill Goblin. I'm trying to think of more, but those are off the top of... Yeah,
Sean.
Yeah, Sean.
Not a Jose, not a Jay. Another good one.
Another good one. Right. Slop nuts. Matt was making a good point regarding that video. The exposure goes to the garbage candidates, and the casual folks get screwed most of the time. We vote red, we get the worst. Voting blue, we can still get shafted, but get some marginal fixes. Most Republican voters want better living conditions and less of those to drain their wallets as well as their wills. We get stuck with harm reduction options as preferred to the best. We have to do more, but they want to minimize our abilities to organize by keeping us working for eons.
Yeah, I mean, and I just think, like, you see somebody who is looking and seeing through the bullshit finally, locking on to the signal finally, that actually rentiers control the society, and there's no really way out besides what. And instead of saying, yeah, we all need to come together, basically get rid of capitalist control of all these sort of economic necessities. You say, well, you've been voting wrong, so go cry harder. Like, I mean, I applaud all the people exposing themselves, saying actually that is my politics, because it's not mine, and I'm not going to move an inch closer to your position on that.
Angela, who studies cults, says, I recommend ASAP Science video on carbon capture and why it's even more of a dodge than Gore states. Ooh, okay, I'm going to write that down. ASAP Science.
Oh, yeah, H. Baumer guy, another one.
Oh, yeah. Carbon capture. Okay.
Somebody says my favorite video essayist is Ben Shapiro.
Okay, that's not great.
Yeah, here's my video essay. Me bullshitting for on something I've thought about 2 seconds about.
I was thinking, like, I write all this stuff down in my notebook, and I need to, like, go back all the notes and recommendations people make. Eventually I'm gonna have because I write on a page a day notes and stuff like that, and eventually I'm gonna be able to have all this useless notebooks for, like, my grandkids or something like that, and they'll be like, what are you scribbling? I have very small and sometimes inscrutable handwriting, so it's not useful for anyone except just, like, to...
But it makes you feel good at the moment.
Oh, it totally. Yeah. Yeah. And sort of makes me remember more, but anyway. Did I say 5 more? So 4 more. Sam's Fifi says, knowing better is a great video essayist. If you guys want to interview more, he's a lefty veteran that used to be a school teacher, and his videos are so informative. That's another one. Knowing better. I'm writing it down. Okay. Minnesota Teamster. I voted blue in my city, and my police department murdered George Floyd and destroyed rent control. Did I vote correctly?
Yep. And thank you for being a Teamster in Minnesota. That's cool. I'm reading. Let me get the book. Go ahead. I got a book recommendation on that.
Charlie Jerk says, I will absolutely debate you, Emma, on why the MCU is good. I would rather die. And to be honest, I've had these debates with, like, people, you know, the people I know that aren't on, you know, in this space, and, like, I just struggle. I struggle with it. And I love those initial Spider-Man movies, like the Tobey Maguire ones that I grew up with. I was like, that was the bomb. I loved it. But I'm so numb to the quips and the crossovers and the universes and the blue and the purple people. Like, it's just,
look, that other big guy is here now. He's gonna help us fight. Like, okay.
Yeah.
The book I was gonna recommend.
Iron Man's good though, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I like, what's his name? The
Robert Downey Jr.?
Yeah, typically he's all right. Revolutionary Teamsters, the Minneapolis Trucker Strike of 1934 by Brian D. Palmer. I just started reading that last night. On LibGen.
Worcester Ice Cat says, I feel like I'm spamming you guys about this, but I think Dylan Saba or anyone from Palestine Legal would be a great interview. The organization does great work defending Palestine or Palestinian sympathetic students/professors from pro-Israel smear campaigns. Okay, sounds good. We will note that.
God, remember that whole thing where that girl said the Palestinian solidarity statement at graduation a few months ago, and, like, Eric Adams and the New York Post went after her? God.
Yes, I know. It makes my blood boil, truly. And the final I am of the week. Brendan from Kentucky. Can't wait to hear that Clarence Thomas has been lifelong friends with the Sacklers after SCOTUS is hearing the stay in the Purdue bankruptcy case. Yep. All right, guys. Appreciate you all. Great week, Sam. We'll be back on Monday. We will be doing a celebration of Michael for his 40th birthday, which is on Sunday. And then, yeah, just some other programming notes, too. Like, Sam is going to be out for a little while, starting on Wednesday for around a week and a half. So it's going to be Emma Majority Report late August. I've got a crazy week, too, because I got my best friend's wedding. So we'll be out one day with a pre-record, but we'll figure that all out. Just a heads up, but definitely tune in on Monday for celebration of Michael. Matt and Bradley, appreciate you all. Everybody that's tuned in, Dorsey, all the people that put so much hard work into making the show. Appreciate you all. See you on Monday.